Welcome back to the Roll Tide Rewind. Appreciate you joining us today to break down some Auburn offense. First of all, I want to say thank you guys for over 620 subscribers. It means a lot. I work really hard on this, so it's nice to see success with it. Alabama just came off a win over Eastern Illinois, 56-0, 8 rushing touchdowns. We only had 12 all year heading into the game. Now we have it at 20. So people think we can run the ball well. I'm just kidding. We know we can. But let's go into the Auburn offense. So right now, Alabama is a 4.5-point favorite over Auburn in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Crazy that you think it's that low, but Auburn is not a bad team. Jordan-Hare Stadium is a cursed place, as all of our Alabama fans know. Georgia was only a 3.5-point favorite against Auburn this year at Jordan-Hare, so for it to be 4.5, it's kind of the same the Georgia game was. So, like, you can be scared by it, but also it's just kind of what to expect. So let's go into the Auburn offense. So to start with, Auburn has not been great this year. They're 5-6, but we all know this game, it doesn't matter. Records don't matter. 2021, Auburn was 6-5 or 5-6. They had TJ Finley starting at quarterback, and they almost beat a Bryce Young-led Alabama team. And then 2023, Alabama was 10-1. Auburn was 5-6, I believe. Peyton Thorne almost beat Alabama. Like these things, it just doesn't matter. So throw a record out the window, and let's get into it. So Auburn is going to be most likely starting Ashton Daniels. So I would show a lot of Jackson Arnold highlights in this. That's what I thought I was going to do about a month ago, but he's not going to play in this game. I don't see him for playing at all unless injury happens, which we're not going to wish upon anything of that. But we're going to look at Ashton Daniels, and we'll show some Deuce Knight plays as well, but I'm going to go with the fact that I think Ashton Daniels is going to start in this game. So Ashton Daniels has only started one game for Auburn this year. It was against Vanderbilt, as all the clips you're going to see here are shown. 31-44, 70.5 completion percentage, pretty good. 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, only sacked twice. Auburn has a bad offensive line, but he was able to only get sacked twice. They have the most sacks in the SEC given up, so it's impressive in its own right. But in the last 2 weeks, Auburn has 38 points, 63 points. Those are their 2 best outings of the year. But since week 3, they had 38 and 41 points in the first 2 weeks. But Ashton Daniels, let's kind of look into these plays and see like what Auburn wants to do with him. So you can see here in the backfield, he's not trying to stay in the pocket too long, maybe like what Jackson Arnold was doing. He's going to go and take what the defense gives him, make a great play. You're going to see here gets the ball quick to Eric Singleton. We'll go over Eric Singleton in his own segment in a little bit. But this is Auburn offense, RPOs. They went tempo against Vanderbilt, something they haven't been doing well all year or haven't really tried to do well all year. But they did it pretty well against Vanderbilt and Mercer. They went very up-tempo, and I don't expect to see anything less from Derek Nix's offense in the Iron Bowl because that's what caused the defenses to be more confused. That's why they're more successful. But Ashton Daniels, what he gives you more that Arnold doesn't give you is Arnold would wait in the pocket for a long time before making a decision, whereas Ashton Daniels, his decisions are quicker, but also he's not going to stay in the pocket forever to try to make a play. He knows he has a clock, and he knows he has to take what the defense gives him, take the opportunities. But with Ashton Daniels being as good as he is running the ball, you have to account for the threat. But also with the RPOs that Auburn runs in the past few weeks especially, that opens up plays for like a Jeremiah Cobb right here to get downfield for a 10-plus yard gain on a first down. And then for Auburn to come back to the same play immediately on an RPO, this time passing the ball to Cam Coleman. We'll get to Cam Coleman in a little bit, but this is what Auburn's offense is capable of with Ashton Daniels, moving the ball downfield, being quick. They had 38 points against Vandy. He didn't play against Mercer because they're trying to preserve his red shirt. But this is the one game of film we have on Ashton Daniels, and they've had basically 3 weeks to prepare for Alabama. They were off the week after the Vanderbilt game. They had Mercer last week, and now it's Alabama this week. So they potentially have had 3 weeks to prepare. So expect a lot of, funkiness from this Auburn offense, especially with Ashton Daniels at the quarterback position. But I'm going to add in some plays from Deuce Knight's game against Mercer. I don't perceive Deuce Knight to start against Alabama, but I would expect him to play, just as a thought, because his running ability, as shown here, even though it's against Mercer, it's the best I've seen in the Auburn quarterback this year. All 3 of them can run the ball pretty well. All 3 of them have their deficiencies throwing the football. But this is the best I think I've seen an Auburn quarterback play this year, despite the competition. But I do think Ashton Daniels gives Auburn the best chance of beating Alabama, and I think that's why he's going to start. But it'd be dumb to not see Deuce Knight play. Like, example, this first and goal play against Mercer right here, just a simple quarterback power. And he's able to break off 2 tackles and get into the end zone, hits off 3 guys. But, he can throw the football. He's a 5-star quarterback. He was one of the highly rated quarterbacks out of last year's class, signed with Auburn. But in the first half against Mercer, 6 carries, 173 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's a wild stat line. But I would expect him to play in some gadget plays. I expect Ashton Daniels to play a lot more. I think it would be kind of dumb not to play Deuce Knight. You're not preserving his red shirt at all. He's only played in 1 game. It's not like if they play in this game, it burns his whole red shirt. So I would expect him to play. I don't expect him to start, but I expect him to play. And also, say if Ashton Daniels, kind of like in the Kentucky game, Jackson Arnold started, didn't do well, and they replaced him with Ashton Daniels. And Ashton Daniels, they did replace him again and then replaced again. But I think if Ashton Daniels were to play bad, Deuce Knight would be subbed in because it's the last game of the year. You have nothing to lose if you're Auburn. You're trying to ruin Alabama's playoff chances. If Auburn wins, they make a bowl game, sure, but you have nothing to lose. You're 5-6. It's not like you're 9-1. So that's what I see out of Auburn in the quarterback play. We'll move on into the run game. We talked about Ashton Daniels and his RPO ability and how that'll be effective, especially with Jeremiah Cobb at running back. And I think you'll see these plays here that show how Jeremiah Cobb is an effective running back at getting downfield. He has 936 yards this year, 64 yards away from 1,000. I would expect them to try to get that against Alabama. 5.7 yards per carry, really, really good. 4 touchdowns. He's had at least 16 carries in the game 6 times this year, and I expect it to be 7 against Alabama. He's had multiple 40-yard runs. He can be explosive. But, yeah, yards perspective, 936. Alabama's top 3 running backs this year are Jam Miller, Kevin Riley, and Daniel Hill. They combined for 810. So 126 yards less than Jeremiah Cobb. Just comparing for a perspective, not like Alabama's run game's elite. It's not, but it's just a perspective to see. But Jeremiah Cobb, I think for Auburn to be successful in this game, Cobb is going to have to be their X factor, maybe their MVP of the game, because Alabama's defense is the best total defense in the SEC, 270 yards per game. Best passing defense in the SEC at 148 yards per game. They're 9th in rushing defense at 121 yards per game. 121 yards per game isn't terrible, but it's something Auburn can harp on and run with it. Now, they don't have to just run with Jeremiah Cobb. We'll go over in a few segments of how they can also add in some receivers into their run game. But Cobb is going to have to be their difference maker, I think, if their Auburn is going to win this game. Auburn runs a lot on third down. I've noticed that watching them this year. I watched them in 6 or 7 games, but I noticed when they hit 3rd and 5, 3rd and 8, that doesn't stop them from running the football. A lot of it probably has to do with the fact that, especially with Jackson Arnold at quarterback, they didn't trust their passing game. So the run game was more of a trusty factor than their pass game was. So they would run the ball on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 6. And sometimes they would convert it. And I think we're going to see maybe some of that in this game where it's 3rd and 7. You think it's an obvious passing down, and they just turn around and hand it to Jeremiah Cobb. And defenses could be confused. They playing pass defense, ready for zone, and then they run the ball, and it's that perfect 8 to 10 yard gain to get a first down. So I think if Cobb has a big day, that's going to bode very well for Auburn in this game. We'll go into who I think is Auburn's, not just their best offensive player. I think he is their best player on the team, and that is Cam Coleman. If you watch these highlights here, it's incredible, the plays that he's able to make. 52 catches, 682 yards, 5 touchdowns. Stats aren't going to wow you. He's just not had a good quarterback this year, and that's just the fact of the matter. 13.1 yards per catch. In the one game with Ashton Daniels as starting quarterback against Vandy, 10 catches, 143 yards, and a touchdown versus Vanderbilt. So like I said, he's a definite first-round pick next year. I think if he was eligible for the draft this year, he'd be a first-round pick. The way he's able to make these catches, big frame guy, over 6 feet tall, 6'3", able to look at that one-handed catch. That's just incredible. But yeah, I think he's the best receiver Alabama's played all year. I think Chris Brazzell for Tennessee definitely has a say-so in that argument. Most of the Tennessee receivers probably do, production-wise. But I think in terms of we're just looking at who is the best receiver by purebred receiver, I think it's got to be Cam Coleman. He is going to be, I think, like I said, Jeremiah Cobb is probably their X factor. But if Cam Coleman has a big day, that at least tells you that Auburn's passing game is effective, because Alabama's pass defense is the best pass defense in the SEC, one of the pass defenses in the country. And if Cam Coleman is being effective in the passing game, that probably is going to open up Auburn's run game a lot more. But also it could mean that Auburn probably maybe isn't running the ball as well as they want to, and they have to throw up these 50-50 balls to Cam Coleman, which a lot of teams haven't been throwing 50-50 balls on Alabama because they just don't have the chance to, or they're just not trusting their receivers against Alabama's corners, because Dijon Lee is 6'4". He's huge. I could see him being a guy who mirrors Cam Coleman in this game. Bray Hubbard's a good safety. Keon Sabb's a good safety. And then our other corners like Red Morgan, Damani Jackson, Xavier Brown are all good corners as well. So Auburn was able to get a one-on-one matchup last year of Cam Coleman on Xavier Brown. So maybe that's the exploiting they're wanting to look for in this game. But Cam Coleman is one to watch. I think if he has a big day, obviously if any of these guys have a big day, it could bode well for Auburn. But I think especially Jeremiah Cobb and Cam Coleman, if they're having big days, I think it bodes very well for the Auburn Tigers in this matchup. We'll go into what I was referencing earlier about Eric Singleton. He's their gadget player. He's a receiver at Georgia Tech the past 2 years, had a really good season last year, transferred to Auburn for this season. He's 55 catches, 508 yards. That's less than 10 yards per catch, 9.2. It's not the highest, but he has big playability, as you see on this play right here against Arkansas. Ashton Daniels is the quarterback on this play. I'll reference that because that's who's going to be starting. But a big play gets a 50-50 ball for his receiver to make a play. But Eric Singleton this year usually hasn't been used for the deep ball. He's been used for a lot of quick passes, as you're going to see in a lot of these clips. And he's used in just a lot of variety of formations. So 9.2 yards per catch. Despite it being 9.2, he is explosive, making plays in the field, middle of the field. He's had 13 carries this year as well, 61 yards. Against Vanderbilt, 11 catches, 102 yards. That's when Ashton was the starting quarterback, like I've mentioned. But they like I said, they use him in a variety of ways. You can see here on this last play against Texas A&M, he starts the play in the backfield, motions out, and it's a screen pass. And this is the first play of the game. This was Auburn's scripted play to start things off. You see him making a play against Texas A&M that probably should have gained a yard, but it ends up gaining over 10 yards. Here's another big playability, a big-time catch. If Auburn can get him in 50-50 balls, maybe that's something they want to exploit too. But you can see here, and I think this is where Auburn is going to use him a lot in the run game. I referenced earlier how Auburn's going to try to get receivers in the run game. I could see Eric Singleton being a big key, getting handoffs on jet sweeps, getting quick out routes like that, quick curl routes. But Eric Singleton's their gadget player. I think if Eric Singleton has a big day, I don't think that would be the craziest thing for Alabama. I think he's going to get a lot of touches, as you can see here, this trick play of hiding the player. But I can see him having a big day just because he's going to get the touches, he's going to get the screens, he's the safety net, he's going to get a lot of plays. And you can see here on 3rd and 9, like I mentioned earlier, Auburn likes to run the ball on 3rd down. This is one of those examples. They brought Eric Singleton in the backfield to run. Didn't get anywhere, but something to see that they will use him. I think he's going to get, like I said, a lot of touches in this game. I think Cam Coleman and Jeremiah Cobb are going to be the two you want to stop the most. I think Singleton will have a big day of the Auburn receivers, but I think it's something that Alabama can withstand if the other two are not having a big day. We'll go into a quick little segment here. I wanted to talk about Auburn's other two receivers that could potentially have an impact in this game, Malcolm Simmons and Perry Thompson. Malcolm Simmons, 22 catches for 314 yards and a touchdown, 14 yards per catch. Now, a lot of that's inflated because he did have a 91-yard touchdown against Mercer. That'll bump the numbers up. But still, he has explosive playability. You can see here on the screen pass against Vanderbilt. And then Perry Thompson, 17 catches, 154 yards, no touchdowns. Perry Thompson is an Alabama native. I think he's an Alabama native. I believe he is. Well, if he's not Alabama native, I'm maybe getting confused, but he was between Alabama and Auburn and picked Auburn at the end of the day. So a lot of Alabama fans are aware of Perry Thompson. But I think both of these guys, if Singleton and Cam Coleman are taken out of the game, if Alabama does a good job bracketing, this is who Auburn's going to have to target. It's going to be Malcolm Simmons and it's going to be Perry Thompson. But you see here Malcolm Simmons, he's used similarly to Eric Singleton. He's basically Eric Singleton's backup that isn't his backup because he plays, but he gets sweeps. He gets short passes, screen passes to make plays. Auburn just doesn't use their tight ends that much, so that's the reason I'm focusing on Malcolm Simmons and Perry Thompson. Preston Howard is their tight end. He only has 9 catches this year, and Auburn fans are not entirely happy with him at all. So it shows you how much they value the tight end position at Auburn this year. It's not good, but I could see if Singleton and Cam Coleman are limited in this game, that Simmons and Perry Thompson get a lot of work because they are good receivers at the end of the day. It's just they're behind Eric Singleton and Cam Coleman. It's the same way Loxier Brooks is pretty good. He's just playing behind Isaiah Horton, Ryan Williams, and Jerry Bernard. So I think this is just 2 guys that could make an impact in this game. We'll go into the last segment about what has been Auburn's Achilles heel all year on offense, and that is their offensive line. Their offensive line has been crushed in games. You can see there, they just didn't block the linebacker. It's a good blitz by Georgia, bring the middle linebacker up the middle, but they just don't account for him. You see the center and the guard here. There's no communication here. And they both go right, hit each other before they even hit the Georgia defender. But I think this is going to have to be where Alabama beats Auburn, is the pressure. Auburn has given up 41 sacks this year. That is the most in the SEC. Now, when Ashton Daniels was at quarterback against Vanderbilt, they only gave up 2 sacks. And last week against Mercer, but Mercer only had 2 sacks. This is where Alabama needs to win. Alabama has had 23 sacks this season. Yanze Pierre has 6. LT Overton has 4. Those are the 2 guys that I will focus in on. And then with these blitzes, linebacker blitzes, Justin Jefferson's going to be a big key in this game, I think, in the middle linebacker blitz, especially on the first one you saw in the Georgia game that I showed. They're going to have to be the difference makers, I think, in this game. Auburn is – Ashton Daniels, like I said, moves better in the pocket than Arnold does. But if you're able to get adequate pressure on Ashton Daniels and force him out of the pocket quickly to make an errant throw, or maybe you – get him out of the pocket and he runs right into a defender, that's going to be the difference, is how are you going to contain Ashton Daniels in this pocket? Because we have good cover corners. They're not going to let guys get open quickly. How are you going to contain them? Now, Auburn's scripted drive, I think, is going to look like the best drive we've ever seen. I think Auburn will score probably a touchdown on their first drive. It's just going to look so beautiful. They've had 3 weeks to prepare for it. It's going to look something magical. How does Alabama respond after that? Or maybe, like in the Tennessee game, I thought Tennessee was going to score easily on their first drive. They went 3 and out. Is that the tone Alabama's going to set in this game? Because realistically, Alabama's offense is not going to be the main reason they beat Auburn this Saturday. It's going to be their defense. The defense was the reason they beat Georgia. I know Ty had a great game against Georgia, but Alabama scored 0 points in the second half. Against Vanderbilt scored 0 points in the second half. Our defense held them in check. Against Missouri, besides a forced fumble that started the second half, the defense was nearly flawless. Ty fumbled the ball inside the 20, allowed Missouri to get an easy touchdown. Besides that, defense was nearly flawless in that game. Tennessee had a pick 6. South Carolina, it was a pick 6 and a forced fumble with 1:30 left to not seal the game, but give Alabama another opportunity to win the game, and they did. Only allowed 9 points against LSU. Eastern Illinois only gained 30 yards in the game. It's Eastern Illinois, but still an impressive stat. And then against Oklahoma, we lost Oklahoma, but Oklahoma, realistically, the defense is not at fault for the Oklahoma game. The defense is the only reason Alabama was in the game. So Alabama's defense is one of the most valuable sides of the ball in college football this year, and this is going to be a big test against Auburn. Like I said, Auburn's only 5-6, but this game means everything to them and also to Alabama. If Alabama loses this game, the season's over. The playoff season is over for Alabama. So give me your thoughts on how you think this game will play out. How do you think Auburn's offense is going to do against Alabama? And if you like what we do here, be sure to subscribe. We are on the road to 1,000. We have a little ways to go, but 625 will be the next step. Just one more subscriber at a time. So, but thank you for watching this video. Hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving week, and roll Tide.